Hi everyone and welcome back to the Fish Room. So today I'm going to make a start on a little series of videos all about botanicals. Today is going to be my top 5 botanicals to use as caves. I'm sure a lot of you are aware that lots of species of the fish that we like to keep in aquariums, like some of the sort of dwarf cichlids and some of the plecs and different catfish species, all like a bit of space to hide in. And I know there's a lot of possible options to use in your aquariums for these caves, like PVC pipe. You can use flower pots and ceramic hides. You can use sort of artificial caves that you can get like as an aquarium ornament. You can get slate caves where they've been sort of glued together to make little hides. And there's all these different options, and not all of them look that natural, and definitely don't look like what you would find in wild habitats. And now botanicals provide a great alternative to that, where they are a natural product that would naturally be found in these environments, and the fish used these sorts of things as their spawning sites and their hides in the wild. So why shouldn't they be used in the aquariums too? So yeah, I'm going to be going through my top 5 of those botanicals that I like to use as caves, and giving you a bit of information about each one to help you decide which one to use in your aquarium. So enjoy the rest of the video. So, as I'm sure you can see behind me, I have boxes and boxes of botanicals up here, and I've sort of sorted them out into some sort of pattern where I've got leaves over there, larger botanicals in here, and then this one here is the one that I'm going to be looking at mostly today. These are my sort of cave-like botanicals. I'll grab out the ones as and when I start talking about them and show you what's inside. So, I'll pop that here for a second, and we'll get started on our first botanical. So the first pod on my list, number 1, is the Cariniana pod or the Savu pod. And now these are just absolutely fantastic. They are native to South America from the Cariniana tree, and that means they are technically biotope correct for some of your apistogrammas, dwarf cichlids like the checkerboards, and yeah, any of your little cave spawning species down there, but also could provide a little home for some of the smaller catfishes to hide it in as well. So first of all, amazing for South American species. It can obviously also be used for other species of fish not found in the area. I've actually used these a lot for licorice gouramis. I find the opening of some of the smaller ones is absolutely perfect to allow them to shelter in and form bubble nests inside. Not managed to raise any young yet, but I do see clusters of eggs inside little caves like this. So they're perfect for those sorts of species. They're also just really quite attractive little pods, even if you're not going to use it as a hide. So going back to the apistogrammas, what I find brilliant about these pods is that the opening is quite small, but it's big enough for the females to get in, but perhaps not some of the larger males. And a lot of the apistogrammas do seem to like the males not being able to fit inside the caves. I find that they often leave some sand across the opening of the cave and preventing the male getting in. And the last thing I want to say about these fantastic pods is that they are so durable. It's like an investment when you buy one. I've had them in an aquarium for over 2 years, and they were still really intact, still absolutely covered in biofilms and goo, which obviously is great for me, but I know for some people that might be a negative, but it's really not, I promise you. Embrace the goo, embrace the biofilms, and it will be a natural ecosystem that you will enjoy for many years. So yeah, I moved them from a different pod. I moved these pods from a different tank into a new tank after about 2 years of use, and they were still very much intact and solid and could be a cave for a new species when I moved on to a different aquarium. So yeah, these Savu pods, number 1, the best ones. Obviously not suitable for larger species, so for me it's perfect. I love the small stuff, but if you want some of the larger pods for some of the larger cichlids and catfishes, hang fire, I'll get to you. So on to number 2, and we are going for the bell cup or the bale tree pod. Now these are native to India, so technically not going to be biotope correct for some of the species that you might want to use as caves, but I'm not great on Indian species, but I bet there is one that would work perfectly and love these types of caves. Obviously they're quite light in colour, which is a bit of a difference to some of the other botanicals that I'll be talking about, which are quite a dark brown. But these do darken over time. I do have a very old bell cup in an aquarium, which is nice and dark now. So if you're worried that the light colour might stand out and contrast too much in your scape, don't worry, it will darken over time, it will blend in really nicely with the rest of your botanicals. Again, these are quite durable, but not as durable as the Savu pod. I took one out, again, same tank that I had the other one, the Savu pods in for 2 years, and one of them was still intact, and I'm still using it today in a different layout. The other one had disintegrated into small fragments and actually made a really nice sort of botanical bed. So not the cave anymore, but it was still very much useful in terms of a botanical, just in a different way. So yeah, they are still quite durable. They don't disintegrate completely within a few months, a couple of years, and they are, well, half of them were still intact and the other half were still usable in a different way. So what might you use these botanicals for? Well, obviously there's a slightly larger opening and might not be so suitable for a bubble nester or a pistogramma unless you were to completely sort of turn it upside down and just prop it up onto a small piece of rock or wood and make a small opening underneath and a big cave inside. So that is always a possible option for you if you want to use these for some of those species. But it could also just be left with it facing upwards and act as just shelter, a darker space for a species to go and rest. Something like a betta, a long-fin betta might be able to just use this as a sort of hammock. You could even support it up near the surface or wedge it into a higher up piece of wood so that they are near the surface and can be almost used as a betta hammock, which I know people are a fan of to allow their fish to rest closer to the surface so they don't have to swim so far to gulp some air. So there's some possible good options. It could also definitely be used for some of the smaller catfish species that like a bit of shelter. Young Hypancistrus plex would definitely shelter in here quite happily. And yeah, all around, it's just a really nice sort of shape and size pod for your aquarium. So number 3 of the seed pods and botanicals for caves is the Buddha nut or the Stoculia pod. And now there's a variety of sizes. They're generally sort of a medium size like this, but the most important thing to notice is that there is a variety of size openings. So if you need a specific size opening, they do close up when they boil and saturate, so they won't be exactly this size, but obviously they're not going to fully close or anything like that. So yeah, if you want a certain shape or size, message your retailer and see if they could send you ones that have a slightly smaller opening if that's what you're looking for. These are native to Southeast Asia, so obviously my brain immediately goes to bettas and gouramis that like to nest or shelter. So perfect for a small little nanobiotope. These could be your central sort of feature in a nano tank. They're beautiful pods. They just have quite a nice shape and texture to them. So yeah, really great for that central botanical. Or you could use multiple pods in a large tank for a sort of larger display, which again I've done in my Borneo tank. But yeah, again, just a nice opening. They're not such a protective cave, so I'd say more for resting than for nesting and spawning in. But otherwise, just, yeah, a staple in the hobby, I'd say, and I had to make the list. So number 4 is a bit of an odd one. It might be a little bit controversial, and it's not currently in my box of cave-like botanicals, because I don't have any that I'm not currently using. But these are the coconut cave. The humble, the stock standard, the easy. That's why they've made the list. They are pre-cut in half with an opening cut into them as well if you buy them from your pet shops. If you want to make your own, you can obviously get some coconuts, enjoy the coconut, and then sterilize and prepare your cave from that. I've never done that, so I'm not going to be able to tell you about that at all. But these guys are so durable. I've had them in use for over 3 years in tanks. Been spawning Pistogramma hongsloi in them routinely. They loved those caves. They preferred them to the flower pots, for definite. The female would, like I said earlier, build up some sand around the entrance so that they can keep other species out and keep the young and the eggs safe. But obviously, if you're going to make your own, you can make that opening the right size for your fish. But yeah, they're just a staple and a really nice sort of entrance level botanical where they're not going to foster too many biofilms, and they're not going to release too many tannins, but they are going to provide a slightly more natural cave whilst being sort of as easy as some of the man-made alternatives. So number 5 is the one that's going to be more suitable for some of the larger cichlid and catfish species, and that is the Ourico pod. These are So cool looking. I've not used them yet in an aquarium. It's been sat in this box waiting for some inspiration to come, because obviously I use quite a lot of small species. This might not be quite so perfect for their spawning sites, but the texture of it, the size of it, obviously it's quite chunky, and this isn't even as big as they can get, make them really interesting, and I just really want to use it. I'm just working on how to include it into a nice, attractive looking botanical layout. So bear with me, and you'll see this being used in a botanical scape soon. This is from the same family as the Brazil nut, so this is where the nut would be inside, and then it's been opened up to collected, and then we get to use these seed pods for our fishes. And now this might be a better use for some of the small sort of Acara species. Again, some of the catfish species would use it to shelter in. And again, if you need a certain size, let your retailer know, and they'll be able to hopefully provide it with you. I have absolutely no experience of how long these are going to be sort of left intact, but looking at the thickness of the wall of the pod and how sturdy it is, I can imagine this is going to last even longer than any of the others that I have spoken about. I've seen them also being used online as little water bowls for some of your sort of terrariums. It could also be filled with aquatic soil and composts or whatever, and made a wabakuso in it, or yeah, I don't know, just endless possibilities, because it's such a perfect little cup or a little bowl that I just think it's going to look really cool when I finally get around to using it. So watch this space, and when I use it, I will give a bit more of a full review on this pod, but I just wanted to include it because ever since I received it in my sort of shipment of botanicals, it's fascinated me. So yeah, just waiting on some inspiration and some planting ideas, and then this will get used in my pod. In my fish room. So yeah, that was a really quick run through of the sort of 5 top botanicals as caves, in my opinion. Obviously, this is all my opinion. But hopefully it's not bored you too much, because I kept them nice and short, but giving you some inspiration of what potentially you could use in your future aquariums to give your fish a really natural home. These botanicals that I've shown you have all been sent to me by Live Aquatic Food online. Go check them out. I'll leave links to all of them, other than obviously the coconut, because I didn't actually order any of those. But I'll leave links to all of their sort of products that I've mentioned in this video in the description. So go check them out. The quality is great, the prices is great, and the service is even better. They really know their stuff. So if you have any questions and you don't want to ask me, you can definitely ask them, and they'll be sure to help you out. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon. Not sure when I'm going to do the next sort of top 5 video, but let me know which one you'd like me to focus on, or what you'd like me to focus on the next one.